Oh, let's talk about the just world hypothesis. This is something that have been bothering me for a while. I used to be a victim of the just world hypothesis. I used to believe that if I worked hard enough and if I put in a lot of effort, I was bound to be successful. Turns out, no. There are many other circumstances that can lead to failure, that can lead to success. And I was naive in the past, thinking that it all depended on me and how hard I worked and how much I tried. So the just world hypothesis is a belief that you get what you deserve. And the just world hypothesis goes hand in hand with the myth of meritocracy and consequently the victim blaming mentality. So if you believe in the myth of meritocracy, you oftentimes feel like when something bad happens to a person, they must have done something to deserve it. They were bad, therefore bad things happened to them. And oftentimes when they apply this to themselves as well, they might think that if something unfortunate happens, they must be to blame. And absolutely, you can be guilty of being human. You can do something that can lead to certain consequences. So I'm not saying that it's never your fault and it's never you who is to blame. What I'm saying is that we sometimes put too much emphasis on our own accountability or responsibility. We hold ourselves to a very high standard, and sometimes it is uncalled for. Sometimes it is not because we did something wrong or because we were unreasonable. Oftentimes it's just bad luck. So if you've ever felt that you could have done better, maybe you have fallen victim for the myth of meritocracy. And the personal example I have of falling for the myth of meritocracy and the just world hypothesis is skincare. So for many years I have suffered from hormonal acne. My parents are both prone to acne. They're in their 50s and they still get acne. So I, however, thought that I could cheat and cheat my way out of my genetics. And I thought that I was the one who was going to solve the generational problem of acne our family suffers from. So I put in a lot of stock into skincare, and I put in a lot of effort into studying the ingredients that go into the skincare products, and I've become moderately successful. However, I never achieved the results I wanted because I expected a miracle to happen. I thought that my skin was transformed completely and become a skin of a different person, of a person who just naturally has radiant skin. And that's impossible. You know, you cannot change the composition of your DNA. I mean, you can, but there are certain things that are just beyond your control. And I had a hard time admitting to this. I had a hard time accepting my failure. And it ultimately led to a vicious cycle of trying something new and getting disappointed when something didn't work the way I wanted to, or things being too slow for my liking. So I ultimately made myself more miserable by fighting against myself, fighting against my own genes. And I'm not saying that, oh, you are destined to a certain skin type, whatever you're born with, that's what you get. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I personally believed so much that I could achieve anything if I worked hard enough, that I ultimately just disappointed myself time and time again. So I'm happy that I embarked on the skincare journey, because ultimately I learned more about life in general, and I learned not to think that you get what you deserve, that if you work hard enough, if you put in enough resources and enough effort, you will definitely get the results you want. I was proven wrong, and I'm happy, because now I can live more freely. Now I know that luck oftentimes plays a huge role. So I don't feel as guilty as I used to. I used to feel extremely guilty when something went wrong, specifically with my skin. I would always blame myself, my choices, like, oh, it must be this thing that I did wrong. It must be this skincare item. It must be that food item I ate. And more often than not, it actually was something completely unrelated. And the sun is out. Yay! The sun is the best filter. So to finish up talking about meritocracy and the just world hypothesis in skincare, I have realized that I might not have as much influence as I desire on my skin. And sometimes it's okay to accept failure. Sometimes it's okay to stop and rest. And it's okay not to feel guilty for your skin's condition. Your skin's condition can largely depend on your overall health. However, there are other circumstances that you cannot control that will contribute to your skin's appearance and your skin's health. And I suffer from multiple skin diseases which are incurable. So dermatologists were the ones who told me that there isn't much I can do. And I try to argue with them and I try to prove them wrong. But I was ultimately proven wrong. But now I have accepted my fate of having imperfect skin, and I'm embracing it. And the more I'm embracing it, the happier I become, the more laid back I become, and the less the way I look impacts the way I interact with the world and with myself. So don't fall for the just world hypothesis or the myth of meritocracy. Don't blame yourself for everything bad that happens to you. Maybe it's you, or maybe it's something else.